Dear students, after more than 9 days, is back again. It's your dear Mr. Adewale Samrad. Welcome to Basic Science class. I'm going to start this class with a quote from a wise man. But first, do you know we are living in a beautiful world? Do you know this planet is the most amazing of all planets, not only in our solar system, but also in the whole universe? My dear students, after one look at this planet, any visitor from outer space would actually say, I want to see the manager, because such a visitor will be so amazed at what kind of world, a wonderful world this is. I bring to you an interesting topic: space and satellites. At the end of this video, you'll be able to know more about space travel and about some historical facts regarding space. You've also been able to know the reason why we go to space, the danger associated with space, and the benefits of space travel to human advancement. You'll be able to tell different types of satellites, solar system, and you also know more about different other different planets. Do you know that there's some importance of satellites that in fact they cannot be emphasized are going to be enumerated in this video. Let's go on and see the definitions of certain concepts associated with space. When you hear the word space, what comes to your mind? It's simply a place or region beyond the Earth's atmosphere. When you gaze up at the night sky, what you're looking at is the space. A total emptiness, but as beautiful as your eyes can behold. When you hear space travel, it's simply the going into the space, moon, or other planets in a spaceship or space shuttle. The space is very vast, and sun, stars, moons, planets, that's where you can find them. There is no sound in the space, no weather. The force of gravity is very low, and that is what keeps all other planets, including Earth as well, in their orbits. When you hear space travel, first thing that should come to your mind is about how do we get there? Not by airplane, not by jets, but by a type of vehicle, a special spaceship or space shuttle. Americans and Russians, they do train their space travelers, and they have different training regimens that they've adopted over the years. No wonder Americans space travelers are called astronauts, while Russian are called cosmonauts. They make use of spacesuits. This helps them to maintain Earth's atmospheric pressure around their body throughout their space journey. They also carry dry foods and oxygen masks with them. Please find out why their food must always be dry and why the need for oxygen masks. At this point, my dear students, please pick up your pen, bring your jotter closer, because I'm about to tell you an interesting story about the space travel. Long time ago, human beings have always been curious about what lies beyond the space. For centuries, humanity stares and wonder what lies beyond the horizon, what lies beyond our shores. Our generation is fortunate enough to know some of the answers to that question. This is the story of our voyage into space. Our first steps into the final frontier began during World War II, where Germany designed experimental V-2 rockets. In 1944, the V-2 became the first man-made object to reach outer space. This technology was eventually adopted by both the United States and Soviet Union in their space program. In 1957, USSR launched Sputnik 1, the world's first artificial satellite. This 200-pound sphere orbits around the Earth, circling it and broadcasting repeated telemetric signal that serves as a reminder of significance to mankind. In January of 1958, the United States launched its first artificial satellite in the form of Explorer 1. On April 12, 1961, Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin became the first human in space and to orbit it, circling the Earth for 108 minutes. In May 1961, American astronaut Alan Shepard became the first man in his country to travel to space. It was followed in February of 1962 by John Glenn, who became the first American to orbit the Earth, cycling it for 3 times. In 1961, U.S. President John F. Kennedy made a promise to the world. What did he say? I believe this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth. No single space project in this period will be more impressive to mankind. On July 16, 1969, the United States launched Apollo 11 in what would become one of the most symbolic moments of human history. 4 days later, the first man landed on the moon. Neil Armstrong set foot on the moon and spoke his famous words. He left his footprints as well as American flag on the moon. He performed experiments. In fact, the success of that mission led to 6 other lunar voyages throughout the following decades. In 1970s, there was a lot of launch of Voyager missions into the space. These were designed to explore the outer planets. The probes Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 explored Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune to gather information about these planets. They recently left the solar system and traveled into interstellar space, where they gathered data. Even today, the Soviet space station Salyut and the American Skylab allowed astronauts to remain in the space for extended periods of time as they conducted scientific experiments throughout the decade. On April 12, 1981, the space shuttle Columbia was launched for the first time. The vehicle was a semi-reusable spacecraft that was expected to lower the cost of space travel. On January 28, 1986, the Space Shuttle Challenger experienced a disaster which marked the first moment of tragic for the probe. Shortly after liftoff, the Challenger broke apart and all 7 crew members in this space shuttle perished. This will be followed by a second disaster. On February 1, 2003, Columbia disintegrated upon re-entry into the atmosphere of our beautiful Earth. The 1990s were marked by the beginning of construction of the International Space Station. This was a joint venture between United States, Russia, Canada, Japan, and 10 European nations. The station orbits still today and is observable with the naked eyes. Wow, can you see this space station? It is the most, in fact, the third brightest object in the sky after the sun in the moon. In June 2003, United States launched the Spirit and Opportunity rovers to explore the surface of Mars. Spirit ceased to function in 2010, but Opportunity was joined by Curiosity rover in 2012. Both continue to map the Martian surface today. The most recent advancements in space travel have come in the form of privatization, that the industry, corporations are attempting to make space flight more economical by developing completely reusable launch methods. In 2015, the firm called Blue Origin landed its rocket from low suborbital space. Another corporation, SpaceX, landed a first-stage rocket from a higher altitude in December of 2015, with both companies experiencing repeated success. The future of space travel is the private industry, bringing in efficiency and automation. Thank you for watching. My dear students, I believe with this documentary you have gained a lot about our space, our planet, our solar system, the reason why in fact our stories, it's been always amazing. Even nowadays, it's now time for us to look at purpose, danger and benefits of space travel in details. What is the reason why we go to space? Curiosity. Humans have always wanted to know if there is life beyond this planet. And so, the main reason is to gather information about the solar system in order to help mankind in their quest for advancement. It is also to know more about space temperature, more about different types of radiation that can affect us on Earth. We want to know the shape of the Earth. Without space traveling, we couldn't have really for sure know that our Earth is almost spherical in shape. We know today of many things around the world in our communities through radio and television satellites. All these and more are the reason why we explore the space. Now let's see some dangers associated with space. Going to space means we are going to experience weightlessness. And my dear students, the feeling of weightlessness is actually what we experience in outer space. A spaceship experiences this phenomenon as it overcomes the Earth's force of gravity. Listen, weightlessness has some effects because it makes objects to float. Astronauts will not be able to eat with spoons. They will not be able to drink water from their cups because there is no force of gravity. On Earth, it's easier for you to pour water from the bowl by simply turning the bowl over and the water will pour to the ground. But in the space, this cannot happen. It will simply be floating. In fact, hold the bowl, leave it with the water inside it, turn the bowl over. It's gonna look like a magic. By the time you look at both the bowl and the water inside, you see that they are still both stuck together. The water will not pour down because there is no force of attraction pulling it downward. We are in the space. Not only that, being in the space, another danger is that of explosion of rockets at the launch pad or in flight. In the documentary we watched, you heard that Columbia actually disintegrated. Columbia was one of the rockets launched into space, a satellite to gather information. Not only that, you also learned that another one called Opportunity and Spirit, they were launched. During launching, anything can happen to rockets, and so this explosion can be disastrous. However, it costs a lot of money. Not only this, what about when space rockets or spaceship are about to re-enter into the planet Earth? it must be calculated. The control of speed of a manned spaceship at the time of re-entry into this atmosphere is very, very important, because any mistake in the calculation may actually lead to death of the men, the astronauts themselves, including the loss of that particular spaceship to explosion. Equipment may also malfunction. If this should happen, it is dangerous as well. Not only this, inability of the rocket to reach escape velocity. If a rocket is being launched from the ground, it must attain a particular speed. If it does not attain this speed, which will make it to escape the Earth's gravitational force, it will fall back and crash. If there is any wrong calculation of angle, speed, and time of launching, this will affect the men, like I said, that is the astronauts or cosmonauts themselves. Okay, now let's look at some of the benefits. Number one on the list is the gathering of scientific information. That is the main, in fact, one of the importance, the most important reasons why we travel to space. We want to know more about different things in our planet. These things include knowing more about the weather, knowing more about our climate, knowing more about what is happening to our planet. We also produce special computers. These computers are actually used to monitor different events in different places. With different computers, humans all over the world can communicate with themselves. You know why? Because there are satellites up there which actually make the communication easier. Production of photographic equipment such as X-ray and gamma rays are some of the benefits of space travel. We know about these rays simply through our travel to the space. We are able to know that light is not the only rays we have in the universe. There are some special rays we cannot see with our naked eyes, and they have wonderful functions. Production of telecommunication equipment. Without it, we won't be able to receive signals on our television. We won't be able to receive signals through our mobile phones. We won't be able to communicate, simply put. Oh, do you know that? By the virtue of traveling to space, we've been able to manufacture remote sensors to guide spacecrafts that are moving about, revolving the Earth or revolving other planets. We are able to produce rockets, aircraft fuels. Now you know that these spaceships, they don't use the same fuel that vehicles, trains, and aircrafts use. Okay, now that you've known all that, it's time for us to check out what satellites are. When we say satellites, what do they mean? Satellites are bodies that revolve around a planet. Any body that revolves around a planet is called a satellite. Of course, you know that our Earth and other planets revolve around the Sun. You also know that the Earth has only one moon. Or have you seen two moons in the night sky before? The answer is no. So, some planets actually have more than one planet, 2, 3, 4, and many more. Jupiter has more than 70 moons. Saturn has the highest number of moons. Okay, now let's look at different types of satellites. Okay, we have what is called natural satellites, and we have what is called artificial satellites. The natural satellites is referring to the moon that orbits the planet. So, our moon is a natural satellite. Artificial satellites are those man-made spaceships or rockets that are launched into the space to do what? To revolve around the Earth and gather information. Do you know that Venus has no moon? Yes. It's a natural satellite. It's actually a planet with no natural satellites at all. Do you also know that Mercury has no moon? That is another planet in our solar system without any natural satellites. These are the only two planets in our solar system without moons or natural satellites. Planet Earth, where we are, has one moon. Planet Mars has 2 moons. Jupiter has 79 moons. Saturn has 82 moons, the highest number of natural satellites. Jupiter has it. Do you know that Neptune has 14 moons? Uranus has 27 moons. With this fact, you are getting to know more about different planets and their moons. It's amazing. Now, let's look at artificial satellites. Artificial satellites, remember, are those man-made objects launched into the space to orbit the Earth. These satellites are more than 100. They serve specific purposes for us. They gather information. They are what we use to produce maps. USA, Russia, China, Canada, even Nigeria, we've launched satellites into space as well. Okay, now it's important for you to know some of the importance of this satellite, what they do as well. Let's start with a type of satellite called observational satellites. Observational satellites take photographs of places. It assists in producing maps, finding location of minerals on the ground as well. There is another type of satellite called communication satellites. This one carries special instruments that obtain and sends information from one place to another. Weather satellites is used to carry special camera. This camera is used to photograph the cloud. Then they will be able to predict the weather conditions in the atmosphere, and they will send it to the ground station. In turn, the ground station can then broadcast it and tell us whether the weather is going to be fine or the weather is not going to be so. Yesterday, I heard in the radio that we are going to have rain for 30 days. Do you know how they're able to know? Weather satellites at work. One satellite we can't forget, we've even mentioned it, is scientific satellite, also known as space probe. These satellites obtain information about radiation levels, temperature, meteors in space. They are the one gathering information for us about different planets, about different objects floating in the sky, about different rays. Another satellite called reconnaissance satellites. This satellite is known as military satellite because it gathers intelligence reports about other countries. It's like a spy, knowing different events and situations going on all around the world. United States of America has it, Russia has it, as well as those developed countries. Wait a minute, do you know Nigeria has a satellite? In fact, we actually had a satellite called Nikon Sat-1. This satellite was built by National Agency for Research and Development Agency, NASDRA. They in conjunction with Chinese expatriates built these satellites way back in 2011. But something went wrong. what happened? A technical fault occurred such that NICOMSAT left the Earth's orbit and wandered off, got lost into the space, never to be seen anymore. And so China came together back with NASA to put another satellite in the space. This one is called NICOMSAT IR. NICOMSAT IR, unlike NICOMSAT 1, which is a surveillance satellite, is actually a communication satellite. Thank God for this satellite. Today, mobile phone, internet, in fact, is one of the reasons why you are able to watch this video on Edmodo. This is how we come to the end of this class today, and I believe you really enjoyed it. Thank you very much. You can go ahead and take your quiz. I love you. Bye. Thank you for watching this video. Now you can go ahead and take the quiz.